Do you read me?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me?
Pacho, this is Con Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. Say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Get some. Hurrah! What's going on? Interwebs. How are you? Happy Baby Friday, or what's the other one I call it? Friday Eve, as I like to call it as well. Well, welcome back. We got a great show for you. Another week has almost gone. Thank baby Jesus, sitting on his manger, wearing a tuxedo shirt, all that good stuff. We got a great show for you today, folks. Before we kick it, I like to do the do and basically say that hey, this show represents and it's all about freedom of speech as well as the Second Amendment. Because I, as well as most of you listeners on here, we protected the Constitution and this great nation of ours. We did a lot of things in the name of freedom. So the show is all about that. So what does that mean? Is that hey, if you like the show, stick around, listen to me bump my gums for the next half hour or so. If not, then perhaps go listen. Swipe left and move on. And here's something. It's a lot of good shows on sitchradio.com as well as many other podcasts and support your podcaster. Okay, so and this show is also brought to you by Castle Global Services. Castle Global Services is one of our official sponsor. Hey, do you ever wish you could have control on who is your electricity provider? Well, go to Castle Global Services on their residential on the resident services tab on the residential. You go in there and they have one of the options you have is choose who your if your state allows it, who and control your electrical bill. So go in there and sign up and take back control of your electricity bill and feel like you have control over it. All right. With that being said, let's kick off this show. So today's show is expectation versus reality in regards to joining the service. Among and there's also a lot of things, and I guess we can apply this to life as well. But I know I remember we when I first came in to the Marine Corps back in the early '90s, or some of you youngster would say, before Jesus Christ was a PFC, ha ha ha, all that good shit. Nah, but one of the reasons not why I joined the service was not only because I had obviously we've all seen Heartbreak Ridge uh, and A Few Good Men, as many other movies, that represents the Marine Corps in a really awesome manner. One of the reasons why I joined the service is us, again, the uniform and watching all these movies. So obviously we think that we have this romantic view and idea that we're going to come into the service or whatever branches that you're joining. But for me as a Marine was man, we're going to go in there, kick ass, take names, all that good stuff. Uh, and sometimes things don't pan out that way. Um, as I was going through MCT, and my best friend Kenny, or my brother from another mother, as I like to call him, he and I remember we're both in MCT, and I was thinking of changing my MOS. I had watched it was an Amtracker video. I don't know if they still do this in MCT, but you would go to this. We were in the field. They would show you this really cool video, of Amtracker and infantry and all this shit, and hoorah, hoorah, get some bark, bark, woof, woof. And I was like, dude, I think I'm really gonna go do it. I'm gonna go switch. I'm gonna, be an Amtracker, infantry, or whatever, and kick ass, take names, and get all the glories, write books, and all that good shit. And Ken was like, dude, you know, you are where you want, where you are. This is kind of paraphrasing the conversation, but he was like, dude, you are where you need to be. I think you got a good career field, just like I chose to be in admin. And I think we made good career choices. Let's just stick with this and see how it plays out, and so on and so forth. And which it did. 100% love it. Love being Motor T Grease Monkey. I know he loved, his time in the Marine Corps and the jobs and the places that he went. So, with that being said, I think, we have this romantic view of what is it like to be in the service versus, the reality of things. And as we were going through boot camp, I mean, and all these follow-on schools, yeah, obviously you have a in boot camp, obviously your handlers are your drill instructors. Those folks, the God bless what they do, because at some point in time, yes, initially they're training you all this and that, but once you get into a pattern and you move from phase one to phase two in boot camp, I mean, they're more they take you from point A to point B, then they sit in the back, getting ready, doing other things to prepare you for the next evolution of part of your training evolution and such. um, but you're being told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and all that good stuff, right? Then from there you kind of move on to MCT, where you still have platoon commanders and OIC, platoon OIC, and these folks are still telling you what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and all that stuff. And it's very regimented. Whereas I know it was for me when I hit the fleet. Yeah, to some degree, I had folks telling me, how to do it, when to do it, and all that good stuff. But the majority of the things were on me. I mean, I had a life in after my weekends weren't as regimented as I was in these formal schools, where I had an individual, where I had duty, and I mean, and all these things where my time was very valuable and still regimented. So I mean, I had a normal life, except for what we, uh, for you non-military types, we had duty where you're basically, and during the weekend or even during the week, you're in your uniform, whatever, and you're answering calls, logging in stuff, and in this book and stuff. So we call that duty or fire watch for those of you. So aside from having duty, I mean, I had a normal life. I had my weekends off and my time to myself, whatever. It's like, I'm not saying, and a lot of you may shoot me for what I'm about to say, but it was like a regular job, but not really in that sense. I'm just trying to make it relatable as much as I can. So, but initially, when I first hit the fleet, I mean, I really enjoyed, the regimental lifestyle. Like, hey, hey, devil dog, hey, Marine, bark, bark, woof, woof, in that aspect. When I hit the fleet, it was just, oh, what happened to all that? And my platoon mates, and we're doing all these things, and where's the drill instructor, where's the handler from Marine combat training, and all those things. So you kind of get in this mentality, and then you hit the fleet, and now it's kind of like on you. And then, yeah, you have these things like Firewatch or working parties. And for those of you who are non-service member types, a working party, it's not a party whatsoever. And you're not, I mean, you are working and busting your ass, but there's nothing party like. I don't even know why the fuck they call it that, to be quite honest. But you're doing these volunteer, non-volunteer related type of jobs, uh, like picking up trash, with again, I guess it's a party because misery loves company. But or you're raking leaves and doing all these mundane different type of jobs, and it's like, dude, where's the combat, where's all the glory, where are all these things that were ingrained or being into our heads, eh, while we went through all these schools, that where's all that stuff? But the reality of things is that you're there, you show up, and then you do your training or you work. If you're if you're motor transport like I was, I mean, you're maintaining the vehicle readiness, so that way that unit is able to deploy with its vehicles, and their vehicles. So the vehicles need to be in a high state of readiness. Readiness meaning ready to go and deploy, or to an austere environment, wherever U.S. Calls us, or breaks glass in case of emergency, or for the admin folks, hey, high state of readiness for the service members, that their wills are and power of attorneys and all those things that require, before you go anywhere, that you have to do prior to deploying, that obviously they're also in a high, that admin unit is in a high state of readiness, and that service members are deployable and ready to go, that all these things in the back end are taken care of, so they can just go on at a moment's notice, is the bottom line. Same thing with all the other jobs that you do in the service. So you you do all these things to maintain high readiness and so on and so forth. And obviously, for those of us who are, infantry is not our daily job, so to speak, because every Marine is a basic rifleman, and all Marines here have gone to multiple field exercises, and that's basically where we're really training for whatever it is that we're going to do, whether it's a communication exercise. We're honing our skills and perfecting how to provide communications to a unit, whether it's field exercise on how to provide logistical packages, and conduct evacuations of folks, whatever the case may be. I mean, we've all done those. But aside from the folks who are in infantry, who basically they clean weapons all day, maintain, again, everything has a purpose, and it's all about maintaining high readiness, state of readiness to go anywhere. There is a romantic side of you that thinks that, hey man, I'm joining the service and it's all about, like I see in the movies, bang bang, butter jam, deploy grenades. Oh, I'm gonna jump on a fucking grenade and save it. It's not like that. you know there are aspects of it that are real. And yes, when shit hits the fan and you are in combat, or in an austere environment with hazards and risk and danger and all those things, yes, all those things come into play, or sometimes not. I mean, I remember multiple deployments that, a lot of the times it wasn't like that. I mean, yes, that danger existed, the risk and threat was there, but sometimes, you're out there. I mean, I hate to put it, sometimes like Forrest Gump, we're out there looking for this guy named Charlie, and we never found him. I mean, that's my shitty voice, my shitty Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump voice. But in for all intents and purposes, I mean, we were at, some of us drove around, a lot of times, and you know we didn't encounter anything. I mean, yeah, some of us might have hit some IEDs, some explosions, or hell, I mean, I remember driving, in my sometimes, and somebody shooting at us, you see some pops and you hear a contact. Who the fuck were we shooting at? I mean, to be quite honest. So, you're out there looking for these things. So yeah, there is that reality aspect of it, but also there's also the aspect that you may need, you may deploy and you have all the widgets in the mix, in the equation. Hey, there's threat, there's this, there's that. But hey, you might have just gone that entire deployment and you've gone outside the wire, done your logistical patch, whatever it is, and nothing really happened. Most of the time, to be quite honest, we're fighting ourselves, and we're fighting complacency. Um, so, what do I mean? What do I mean by that is that, just like in Roman times, after the Roman, one of the things that centurions and senior high-ranking officers during Roman times, what they would do is, after they went into a city, invaded or fought with the enemy and won, they would put the soldiers to work and to rebuild that city, where they just got done, pillaging and doing their stuff. Why? One, it prevented additional, obviously, and things are going to happen in additional collateral damage, whether it was soldiers getting bored, beating up the local, population, taking advantage of the women, whatever the case may be, just to prevent any additional incidents. That's what they did to keep them busy, because idle hands is the devil's playground, as well as idle mind is devil's playground. Prevent suicides and so on and so forth. So same thing here, same thing. I mean, that shit still doesn't change. So a lot of times, as leaders, we're fighting complacency and downtime. So that's why we would keep soldiers and Marines, busy doing just mundane minutia and bullshit, uh, to prevent additional incidents, and things did still happen, and people are would commit stupid stuff. So the reality, again, going circling back to what I'm saying, is that the reality of joining the service, sometimes a lot of us, we have this high expectancy that we're going to do all these things, but in reality it really isn't. you know Same thing. Later on in my lifetime, I joined I decided to go the warrant officer route, and growing up in the ranks, you see a term of endearment for warrant officers in some units is gunner, and in reality a gunner is a warrant officer or a chief warrant officer that came from through the ranks in the infantry side, and he's a master of arms. This dude usually at an infantry unit, and the guy knows anything and everything about weapons deployment and placement and so on and so forth. But I don't know why I got adopted on the other warrant officers as a gunner. It's just a fraternal endearment. I didn't like it in particular because I was not a gunner. Have a high respect for those individuals, and there's a reason why they call them that. So I just prefer that. Hey, just call me sir or chief warrant officer, whichever. Or if it's your boss, your colonel, they will call you by your first name. So, anyways, getting back to what I was saying is that here I am, as a warrant officer, and I'm thinking, because growing up, I saw the warrant officer. Hey, you never mess with him. The dude used to chew ass, both enlisted and officer. I mean, that guy used to break his foot on other officers. I mean, to the point where they're probably coughing up some toe jam, after he got done chewing a captain or a lieutenant's ass. So I was like, oh fuck yeah, that's what I want to do you know but the reality of it is that when I transition into those ranks, it's nothing like that. And it's very political. You're advocating for your not only for your platoon, excuse me, but you're also depending on where you're placed at, you're also advocating for your equipment, the other platoons or the other companies that you may be in charge of, as well as you're advocating for your community as a whole. For me, it was motor transport and logistics. So it was far from chewing ass and arguing and this and that and just walking away and being disrespectful. One thing that Scott Mad Max Gilman, who some of you may have met on my show, uh, he was not only was he a personal friend of mine when I first came back, because I got out, I came back into the Marine Corps, but the dude was also my mentor in the community, and one of the reasons and good positive influences I had of why I became a warrant officer. And an advice that he gave me, and that to this day I will never forget, is, hey man, now that you're one of us, it's great, congratulations, but and there's a lot of power, a lot of responsibility, but just remember one thing: the ass you chew today might be the ass you kiss tomorrow. Again, the ass you chew today might be the ass you kiss tomorrow. Said, you're going to run into situations where, you may be right. You'll have young lieutenants, captains, hell, even majors that, may present themselves, and, you really, and you can, yeah, and you have that power, or I guess, that leverage, but just be careful, when, how you use that, because in the end, those folks are going to move on. They'll become, they'll rise through the ranks, and one day you may run into that individual and you set them up for success, and left him a bad taste in his mouth with our community, that he may have an axe to grind with other warrant officers, and where he may not be as open to listen to our advice because we are advisors of our communities. And how can this guy ever listen to another warrant officer because you're the one who set him up for failure late earlier in his career? So that's one that so that was a very reality check for me, that oh shit, it's not all about a come here there, young devil dog, or young lieutenant, and blah blah blah, and bark bark woof woof. It was far from that. So and hell, here's another reality check. I thought that was going to go to when I went to the basic school where all officers go in Quantico, that hey, I'm just going to go over there, do my thing, go to my job school, and then come back to the fleet, and yay, high fives to me, I'm back in the fleet. No, wasn't like that. I mean, hell, I was actually doing fire watch as a warrant officer with other warrant officers. We were doing fire watch like PFCs, wearing vests, walking around the barracks. Hey, it's past 10 o'clock. Shut up. Close the doors. Blah blah. I mean, like I was a PFC, a PFC in the Marine Corps, and I was like, what the fuck, man? I was in the streets as a recruiter, driving around, my govy with a pack of cards, talking to people, shaking hands, kissing babies. Hey, you want to be a Marine? No. All right, next. And now I'm back. It was just a reality check, and you know, put me, put me down a couple of notches. Um, so it's like, man, why the hell am I even doing this? What, where's all the glory? Where's all the good shit? The hey, sir, and the salutes and all that stuff. Or even when I hit the fleet as a young Marine, hey man, where's all the guns, the firefights, the shooting, the romanticism of that I was gonna be a war hero and all that good stuff. Where's all that? It isn't. So kind of bringing it all full circle, to a lot of us it's a huge letdown, you know that fuck, it's not even like this. It's, oh wow, this is somewhat like a job, for real. So the reality of things is, or and then, so a lot of us, we and depending on the job, and if you don't like what you're doing, and you don't like your job, or whatever it was that you're doing, because you're doing many different things not to what your expectations were. A lot of people just decided, and they get out, early in their career. After they'll do their 4 years, move on to other things, and that's it. That was, and they may. I mean, even to me, I mean, hey, you still serve. You were still part of that, very small percentage of the population that pretty much, like, as I mentioned before in other podcasts, that hey, you raise your right hand, um, and said, hey, in America, go ahead. I'm going to give you a blank check with my life that you can cash at any point in time, because I'm going to answer the call no matter where it is, or what it is. And even if that means giving my life in order to guarantee your freedom and your safety. So, a lot of us think that it's going to be like that. And, sometimes it isn't. So, we get out. So some people get out. Hell, a lot of us who have been to combat, and we transition out, because at some point in time our career is going to end, whether we get out or whether we retire. And a lot of us have a hard time transitioning back, because we no longer, out in the private sector, we don't have that expectant, we don't have that camaraderie, the brothers or sisters right next to us, looking over to that one person in the field exercise, and you're both miserable. And or somebody say, hey fucker. By the way, fucker is a very, it's a real term. You could look it up in any dictionary. It's a term of endearment, for us service members. Hey fucker, come on over here, man, have a beer, whatever. That no longer make the case may be. And because of, obviously PTSD and other things, a lot of us end up committing suicide, because we have no the expect we associate. I know I did. um I associated myself, with my weapon. So, uh, you know when I had a break in my breakdown, and I was, I almost committed suicide. I was, I had ideations and I had a plan and all those things. Um, but when I came again, Scott Gilman stepped in. He intervened and got me the help I needed. One of the things was, hey, they took my weapons card. Because obviously they didn't want me to go check out my 9 mil out of the armory and try to suck start that bitch somewhere in Camp Pendleton. Obviously, that they're trying to prevent you from doing something stupid like that. But I was like, fuck, if I don't have my weapons card and I can't draw my weapon, then what am I? I'm not a Marine, because every Marine is a basic rifleman. That's how it's kind of like, in the movie 300, when Leonidas standing right before, right in front of Xerxes, and the guy narrating says, his shield was heavy. He grabs his lance and he chucks it, and he misses because the guy, he didn't have he was unbalanced because of his shield. But that's how a lot of us associate ourselves as, hey, we're this this warrior, and now we're just Joe working at this company. And that's a hard pill to fucking swallow, people. That's a huge reality check for us, and that a lot of us can't process it. And obviously, either we end up making stupid this I don't want to say stupid, but we end up making not very healthy life choices. We start chasing that high of being deployed. We get into risky relationships. We start having affairs, multiple, with multiple people, unprotected, doing drugs, um, getting buying fast, getting into motorcycles and going super fast, or even vehicles. And that we start making these choices that because we don't know how to vocalize that. Fuck, what am I doing? Those are the reality of things, on the real side, on the real world. So we have these expectations that we have to learn how to, hey, you know what, this is not what I expected in this sense. However, I do have, I do have other venues where I can let out, or I could talk to people. And that's where you should be talking to your leadership and leaning on them. Hey, staff iron, I thought I was gonna, I thought I was gonna be kicking ass, taking names, and hopefully though that leader will say, hey, yes, that may be the case, and that is still a very high likeliness and possibility that you could go to combat. These things are going to, however, there's also things that we need to do on the back end before, before we even get to answer America's 911 call. So, hell, even as an officer, because even as an officer, as you're entering the ranks, as a young officer, you're still going to have an individual, an enlisted advisor, that and hopefully that leader, shit, even as a warrant officer. I mean, I had my master gunnery sergeant, you know uh shout out to Ezra Bunnell in Texas. I mean, because of this guy, I leaned on him all the time, and I'm like, Master Guns, shit, I thought that this was going to be, like this. And he would say, well, no, sir, it, you got to do it like this, because so on and so forth. And by the way, you don't have to be the guy that does everything all the fucking time. That's why you have staff sergeants that want to show you what they can do, or whatever the case may be. But you know, you should lean on those leaders and those folks who've been around, and they can bring that experience, their past experience, onto the table, and hopefully you can get a better perception of things. So that way, you know, we don't get bored with what we do, or uh, what is it? I was talking about it earlier, but I'm drawing a blank. But that way, boredom doesn't set in, and we start making other choices, and then we just like, or we leave the service and we're like, fuck it, you know what, it sucked, uh, because of XYZ, where, hey, we needed to realize that, hey, it's the expectations may be one thing. However, on the other side, there are other things in reality and in the back end that you need to be able to accept and cope with, because things don't always play out the way we want it. Not in the service, and not in, not even beyond, beyond the service, or in real life, I guess, if you want to put it in those terms, as it is. and kind of roping it all everything together. That's where you lean on your friends, people who've been in the service before, other mentors, and being open about it and talking about it and saying, and letting them know where you're at and how you're feeling. So that way, hopefully, it'll give you a different perspective, and you can see things from a different level, and you can say, oh, okay, got it. And it's much easier to process. So, you know that's what it is. I want to give a shout out to my former roommate, my first roommate when I hit the fleet, Caesar Sterling. I think he's listening to the show. Shout out to you, my boy. I miss you. I need to bring you on the show so we can talk shit about some of the good times that you and I had, and a lot of bad things that I learned from you and Sinette, who was my other roommate. I also want to give a shout out to my buddy Jorge. Jorge, hey, thanks a lot, brother. You sent me this really cool pen as a gift. They call these the gun pens. I mean, it looks like a bullet, and you lock it and all that good shit. So I want to say, hey, thanks, brother. You really didn't have to. Love you. Thanks for supporting the show. And before I punch out, I just want to say that, hey, if you've been struggling with anything in life, uh, transitioning, or just marinating and ruminating on a bunch of other shit, uh, don't be afraid to reach out. Shout out to you, Ken. Hoorah, get some, bitch. I just talked about you earlier. Uh, but if you've been struggling with things, and you don't know what to do, everything has a solution. Reach out to me, reach out to a buddy, reach out on military tricare or one source VA, or just reach out. And for those of you who haven't heard from a buddy for a while, fucking do a buddy check. Hey man, quick text, I'm just doing a comp check, give me a quick Lima Charlie, a loud and clear that you're still here. And if you got anything you want weighing on you, I'm here. Fucking reply back, let me know that you're alive, bro. Just do that for me, because the bottom line is that we don't want anybody to be part of the 22 and the 22 Marine statistics that kill themselves a day. I don't be doing fucking push-ups for, nah, I want you alive. I want you here. So anyways, we got a lot of, just FYI, we got a lot of good shit coming planned for this show. So if you're into cryptocurrency, NFT, non-fungible tokens, NFTs, hey, this is coming down the pipeline with this show, and cryptocurrency, and moving on to different platforms, and just growing the show. So if you're into all that good shit, hey, tune in. But with that being said, folks, I just want to thank you for tuning in. Like and subscribe, share, pass me around like a joint at a party, and recommend me. All right. But with that being said, hoorah, get some. I am out of here. Peace.